So here he was showing up at any time and any place, just out of nowhere. And could even, walk through doors. He was in a different dimension. Just talked about it with Ed. It's not so much what we see, it's what we don't see that we don't know that we're missing. There's a fourth dimension, maybe a fifth, a sixth. Who knows? We don't see it. We don't. How would we know? But Jesus was beyond what we can see and know, and still is. So it's in this setting that he's coming to Peter. And he's wanting to restore him in relationship with him. Wanting to be reconciled over the past. Misunderstanding, mistake, misperception that Peter had. He said, oh Lord, I'll lay down my life for you. I'll take the hill with you. I got your back. And sure enough, he denied him 3 times. And now Jesus is coming and saying, okay, Peter, let's see where we're at now. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Well, here's how it rolls. Okay? This is the rest of the story. When, in verse 15, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? The word that Jesus uses for love here is a very unique love. And I'll just give you 3 examples of love words in Greek. Eros, E-R-O-S, from which we get the word erotic, is a sexual love between a husband and a wife. Okay, that's a particular kind of love. Okay, it's not that word, all right? Phileo, which is where we get philosophy, Philadelphia. Okay, the city Philadelphia. Phileo is love, and it means to love someone in a brotherly fashion. Okay? And then the last word that is used here for love is agape love. And agape is the kind of love that God has for us. Unconditional, without limit, without merit, all grace, all the time. Knows us the best and loves us the most. So, keep that in mind. There's just 2 words we're going to be dealing with right here. Phileo, brotherly love. Neighborly love. Okay? Church kind of love. Even the guys you work with, your co-workers, phileo. Okay? And then the other word is agape, which is this unconditional, all grace, all the time, can't be merited, can't be earned. I love you no matter what you do. So, here we go. Simon, first time, son of John, do you agape me more than these? We're starting right at the top. And he's asking, Peter, do you love me unconditionally? More than you love anyone else? This is how Peter responds. Yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. I love you like a brother. He didn't say I agape you. And that's the question Jesus asked. He says, I phileo you. I love you like a brother, like a neighbor, close friend, a buddy. We go fishing together, we hang out, watch the football game, whatever. So Jesus comes back and he says, tend my lambs. But he says a second time, Simon, do you love me? Agape again. Do you agape me? Peter says, yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. Didn't you hear me the first time? But we're using different languages. We're using different words. Peter is not saying I agape you. He's saying, I phileo you. You're my best buddy. I'll follow you anywhere. You know that. Take my shirt off for you. You got my back. You know, I've got your back. So, once again, shepherd my sheep. You know, if you love me, tend my lambs, shepherd my sheep. Doesn't matter. You know, Jesus is showing that it doesn't matter what Peter's response is. He's still giving him the command, tend my lambs, feed my sheep. Going to meet you where you are, no matter what. The third time, what do you think is coming? Simon, son of John, do you... Jesus has been using agape, right? The first two questions, do you agape me? The third question, he says, do you phileo me? So he is meeting Peter at his level. And Peter gets it right between the eyes, right in the heart. And he says that Peter was grieved. You know, you don't get grieved when somebody asks you the same question 3 times. You get grieved when you hear the answer that you didn't want to hear. Peter was grieved because Jesus basically said, you phileo me, Peter, but you don't agape me. Even though I agape you. So Peter came face to face with who he was, his deficiency, the truth about him. And he was trying to play it like, I love you, it's good enough. But Jesus was asking for something beyond what Peter could even imagine. So he was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you phileo me? Not because he said to him the third time, do you agape me? But because he had realized that Jesus caught on and that indeed Peter did not have the highest love that he pretended to think he had for Jesus. So it was a moment of truth. And he said additionally to him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I phileo you. There was disappointment when he said that. The truth of the matter is, this is as good as I am right now, with where I am with you right now. And Jesus yet said, feed my sheep. So Jesus is showing agape love in this conversation. He's accepting Peter unconditionally where Peter is. And he's saying, you know what, I still love you, man, and I'm giving you this challenge and this charge. Do it anyway. Even though we have a meeting of the minds, we understand each other, and we know that you do not agape me, but that I agape you. And I don't know that any of us can have that agape love on our own. I know that we can't. But with God the Father, Jesus the Son, the living Spirit of God within us, that heart transformation that can take place, only then can we have that kind of love for God that God has for us, because we're joined up with Him. Communion with one. Coming together with one. With God. And here's the other thing. For us to love God back, agape-wise, the biggest thing that we can do is to accept the truth that God loves me unconditionally. When I accept that, I am reflecting back to God all I can do in the agape department. He knows me the best and loves me the most. No matter what you did back in the 3rd grade, or what you did last night, or what you did this morning, He still loves you the most and knows you inside out. This is what he's showing Peter. Man, I know you. I know you. Just know that I know you. And that's a great starting point, isn't it? Just accept this gift of my unconditional love, no matter what. You don't need to do anything. But if you love me agape style, you will feed my sheep. You will tend my lambs. And you'll stay with it. Because it's the most noble love we can have, is agape love. And it's a love of a cause that is greater than ourselves. It's a love of the gospel. It's a love of God that we can't, it's that burning within us that the disciples on the way to Emmaus talked about. He says, we don't understand this, but ever since this stranger has joined us, there's been this burning within our hearts that doesn't go away. And that's a flame that God starts that we never want to extinguish ourselves. So this is the king's dinner, an agape feast, if you will, is what communion is all about. Receiving his unconditional love and just asking him to change our hearts so that we can just get a feel for what that is in ourselves. But all we can do is accept it as a starting point.